right, we are here on the Coker roof. We have got our shingle here, closest match we could find. We got a clearly wind-creased shingle here. We're gonna go ahead and start by separating these shingles here. They are incredibly brittle. They have lost all of their pliability, which is something's ability to bend without breaking due to the age of this roof, and there's just no moisture left. You can also see kind of debris coming out of these. We're gonna get all the shingles unsealed that we're gonna need to get under to get our 2 nail lines out. Okay. We're completely separated there. Now I am going to scoot up a little bit here, start pulling these nails out. This roof's in code. We should come into 4 nails per row. Oh, that one's not coming out. We'll come back to it. We're gonna be careful not to lift the shingle too high, although this roof is absolutely irreparable. I mean, the shingles just kind of are falling apart. Even as I'm touching it here, I mean, this shingle here is exploding in the middle. It's actually got a hole there now, just from this little bit of manipulation. And the shingles are so stiff. You know, I've done 20 or 30 of these videos. I'm not sure if you've seen my other ones, but we generally get the shingles out with no blow-throughs at all. And the shingle is so brittle that the nail just blew through there. Even here, you know, the nail's kind of already blown through. Pretty much every single one of them is going underneath my bar here. So the shingles are, you know, they're like a graham cracker. They're so dry. There we go, we got one of them out there. Yeah, and then these nails are kind of weird looking. Not even sure if that's 1.25 inches. That may be out of code there. Okay, so there was 4 fasteners there. It looks like a few of them blew through. There we go. Having a hard time getting these nails out. Go ahead and put my other glove on so I don't bruise my palm from bumping the nails here. These nails are really not coming out. I mean, okay, got a second one out here. Looks like what's happened is that they were overdriven to begin with. So the sharp end of my blade, it is just, I mean, I'm very, very strong. And these nails, it looks like I just lost a nail head. May have broke off there. All right, so you can see our nails are getting deformed and the nail head itself is bending up instead of coming out of the roof. So I'm doing my best here. But this is kind of an example of how this roof is so old and just failing as a system. I mean, I'm putting everything I've got into getting these nails out. Again, kind of the same thing with the deformation of the nail head, kind of folding up instead of coming out of the roof. All right, so with this shingle here, we had a couple blow-throughs due to just how brittle the shingle is. And then you can see they're not even like creasing, they're exploding in the middle, like a cracker, like a piece of toast. You got like smoke tufts coming out of here. And then, you know, with the lack of malleability, you know, when you go to manipulate this shingle, you're getting so much movement let me pull the new shingle up here so you guys can see this. On the new shingle, these are like a wet noodle, very rubbery, right? You can brush this 100 times all day long. I can brush this forever. We're never gonna lose any of those granules off of here. And you can also manipulate the shingle really well, and you're not gonna get any creasing. We can do this all day long, as much as we need to. The manufacturer installation guidelines say we gotta lift our shingles high enough to drive the nail flush. Nails gotta go in straight, not at an angle. And with how brittle, you know, these shingles are, really just barely lifting them at all. Barely lifting. This is the one we've taken out. I'm not damaging the roof here. You know, and we're getting, again, in the middle here, the creasing is so bad, even right here. You know, the shingles are just exploding from very little manipulation, right? So then once we get in here, I'm gonna get this old shingle out of our way. And then once we get in here, and look under here, you realize, well, hang on a minute, this roof's multiple layers. And with the age of this outer roof, you know, you're looking at 30, maybe more years old, this layer here, and it's become kind of like a mush. It's not a good nailing surface. You shouldn't do repairs on multiple layer roof. Really, you need both of those layers to come off. You know, so that's definitely a fail from me. And then you've got a little bit of mat transfer throughout here. Some of the shingles aren't sealing at all, but in these areas where you can see that little bit of mat where it's not shiny right here. So like that's gonna be a little bit of mat transfer through here a little bit, also through here. And then the amount of debris also that's on this roof, these shingles aren't gonna seal correctly anymore. So for diligence, we're gonna go ahead and slide this shingle in here so we can just kind of see how everything ends up working out. I'm gonna have to lift this up a little bit in here to clear that second layer because those teeth are kind of grabbing at it as I'm trying to put it in there. So 3-tab are generally the right size, pretty much always gonna be the same. What you run into is the color disparity. You know, this roof is kind of old, obviously. It's kind of faded to like a reddish black almost. This is more on the blue, cold gray side. You know, it's definitely not gonna match, especially when you look, I mean, the street is literally right there for everybody to see. So we're gonna go ahead and start nailing these in here. And we're gonna do, per manufacturer installation guidelines, let me get a better spot here. We're gonna do one at the end of the shingle, one over each groove, and one at the end. Based on how these are kind of situated, we'll see when we get in here. So this is an end and this is an end. So we're gonna drive one right in here. We're only lifting the shingle as high as we need to drive that nail flush. But with this roof, no matter how high you lift a shingle, you're gonna get damage. It is just the most brittle roof I've ever seen. And there's mat transfer in here as well. You got mat transfer all over this roof. And I've got to get the nail over the sealant line, right? So when the nail's on the hammer, when the hammer's swung, it's got to come in straight. So if I go in here like this, you can clearly see there is no way that hammer is going to clear. The nail would be outside of the shingle if you drive it there. The shingle has to be lifted high enough to get the nail over the sealant line, and you can't come in here at an angle. The fasteners have to be driven straight. So that's kind of why we're here, to just explain that these shingles cannot be lifted high enough to get these nails flush without creasing them on this old roof. So we had an end groove here. We're gonna do another groove here, and that'll be the remainder. So up under here, we've had mat transfer so bad that it's actually torn this shingle under here. So you can see this matte colored area, the non-shiny part, opaque area. That's the mat getting ripped off the back of the shingle here, and it's torn our shingle under there. So for that one, I'm gonna kind of just do what I can with that nail, but you can already start to see you're getting this shingle here exploding down the middle. You know, pieces are falling out of it. We're gonna do our last nail line here. Right. So one on the end, above our sealant strip, so that nail head gets nice and flat. Got some real bad creasing in the corner there. I'll come back and look at that in just a second here. Okay, we're gonna go over the line here, same way. One over our groove. And one at the end of the new shingle. All right, so pretty obvious color disparity. We went over the 2 layers. You've seen the shingles tear in the middle. I mean, you have creasing on every single shingle. You got creasing throughout here, kind of here. You got creasing running this way. A huge one going down right there. Just kind of going here. I mean, every single shingle. And then one of these guys, this one here, tore right here in the middle. Same thing here, torn on the end, because at this point they're not even creasing. What's happening is they're getting enough pressure on them and they're just snapping, again, like a cracker or a piece of toast. So you know, it is my professional opinion that this roof definitely shouldn't be repaired for the mat transfer, the creasing, the color disparity, and the second layer. Should never repair second layer roof. And I believe this roof should be replaced as a whole. Thank you guys so much.